Hey everybody, welcome to my channel Academia. This is Vaibhav and today we're going to be looking at the themes and the title and the critical appreciation for We Are the Music Makers by Arthur William Edgar O'Shaughnessy. Let's get started. Okay, now if you talk of the themes of this poem, then there are two most prominent and dominant themes in the poem. They are the transformative part of art and the powerful artists. Okay, now I told you in the previous video in the literary explanation that this entire poem revolves around the greatness of artists. It celebrates art and artists. Okay, so it talks of how important and how powerful art is. It can transform people from something what they are into something else, right? If you look at the first stanza itself, then artists are said to be the movers and shakers of the world, right? So if artists are claimed to be the movers and shakers of the world by the poet, then that definitely means that whatever art they are producing, whatever art they are making, they are creating, that has something great in it. Okay, so and one thing more, they are sitting by the desolate stream, right? They are wandering by lone sea breakers, which means that they are not involving themselves into any sort of a physical activity. Without any physical involvement, without physically being there in the revolutions and the movements, they are, kind of bringing people together. They are bringing that sense of solidarity, because that art is binding the entire society together, and it is motivating the people to uproot, to dismantle the stigmas, and to regenerate itself, right? To create something worthy, to bring in worthy thoughts, to dismantle the stigmas, to dislocate the stigmas completely. Stigmas, by the way, means, the prejudices, the social evils, the stereotypes, right? For example, patriarchy or misogyny or homophobia, all these kinds of things, any sort of a social evil, right? Or a taboo on mental illness, all that in the modern times, all these are basically what? All these are stigmas, right? All these are taboos. These are transcendas. So what do the artists do? They basically dismantle all this. They uproot all this, which is deep seated in the fabric of society, and then they lead people to revolt and rally for change. So why are artists powerful? Why is art pronounced? Why is art transformative? Because it connects with people emotionally. It connects with people mentally. Artists are not there physically in the movements. They may or may not be, in fact, they may or may not be there out on the streets, right? Screaming out slogans or something. But ultimately, the slogans come from them. Those impactful pieces of art, be it a musician, be it a singer, be it a writer, be it an actor, a dancer, a poet, a writer, whatever, whosoever it might be, any kind of an artist, they have that kind of a power in them to lead people to revolt and rally for change, to lead people to bring about social change, to be the change makers of the world, right? These are artists, and such are artists, which is why art becomes a vehicle of social change, right? This is a very important line. Art becomes a vehicle for social change. It leads people to bring about social changes. It leads people to destroy all these things which are stigmatizing the society, which are infesting the society, and then, kind of bloom in flowers of change. That is what artists do. And there are multiple examples throughout history and in the current time as well. On a daily basis, art is being created and produced, which is speaking to people. It is pleasing people. You can basically write in your answers that art has its own way of screaming to people, of yelling to people, of pleading people, of making its own way to the heart of people. And that is how art, and by extension artists, they hold that kind of a power in them. And if you go by Arthur William Edgar O'Shaughnessy, then artists have that kind of a power to, dismantle cities, to conquer the crown, to build great cities with wonderful deathless deities, to fashion an empire's glory, all right, or maybe to bring an empire down, or they can build Nineveh with their sighing and Babel with their mirth, and they can create such pieces of art that cross boundaries of time, irrespective of time. They are just present throughout history. William Shakespeare wrote his plays back in the 17th century. Arthur William Edgar O'Shaughnessy wrote this particular piece of poem in the 19th century. This is the 21st century. People, we are still reading their work. Such is the power of art. Such great are artists, right? So due to the emotional connection, all this is happening. And one more point can be included in this. The point is that the praise, the appraisal and appreciation that is given to the entire thing of fantasy. What does the poet say? The poet says that these people, they sit by the desolate streams and they are world losers and world forsakers, and thus they are in their own world. They are in their own utopian world of fantasy, in their own imagination. But being in that imaginary world, being in that utopia, they have created such transformative and revolutionary pieces of art that they speak, in fact, they scream to every person with a heart and a mind and a soul. Such is the power of artists. So that was about the theme of this poem. And if we talk of the kind of poem which it is, this is an ode, right? Now, this is quite a very, should I say, a favorite question for the council, and they ask you in long answers. And now that the paper pattern has changed, so you're getting answers of 10 marks and 5 marks. So in a 10-mark question, this can be asked. Describe, or rather discuss, We Are the Music Makers as an ode. You can also be asked the theme. The theme can come in a 5-mark or 10-mark answer. But if you're asked for an ode, that how is this particular piece of poem an ode, then first of all, you will have to describe what an ode is. See, whenever you are asked that this particular piece of poem is, let's say, a dramatic monologue or an ode or an elegy or a eulogy, you will first have to describe that how is this an ode, right? How is this an elegy? In this case, it is an ode. So I told you that ode is that piece of poem which basically appreciates and talks highly, praises something or someone. That is an ode, a poem that appraises, it venerates, shows respect, love for something or someone. Now, how is this poem an ode? Because of course, throughout the poem, the poet is talking highly of the artists, right? Be it any kind of an artist, musician, singer, songwriter, poet, writer, author, anybody, sculptor, dancer for that matter, filmmaker, these people who are associated with cinema and all these people are what? These people are artists only, right? And these people, they have that kind of a potential, according to Arthur William Edgar O'Shaughnessy, to bring about social changes. And that is being talked of in the poem, right? So exalted feelings about, exalted feelings for the artists are portrayed over here. And that is how it becomes an ode. Unlike those people, now if you look at the first stanza, first stanza basically tells us how the society thinks artists are. They wander by lone sea breakers. They sit by desolate streams, right? They don't do anything. They're world losers and world forsakers, upon whom the pale moon gleams. It is just a very temporary fame that they get. This is what the society perceives artists to be as. Is it the truth? It's not. It's in no way a truth. The reason is that artists have that kind of a power in themselves to bring about transformation, to bring about revolution, right? To do all kinds of stuff that I've talked to you a minute ago. So that is how this poem is an ode, because it is talking so greatly about artists. In fact, by alluding to, the mythological cities of Babel and Nineveh, the poet has rather given a sense of divinity to art and artists. That art is divine. Artists are also, somebody who is associated with divinity. The moment Arthur William Edgar O'Shaughnessy has mentioned Babel and Nineveh, that gives us as readers a sense of divinity, right? Something which is sacred, something which is quite important as far as the society is concerned. So yeah, that is how it is an ode. And there are cross references for ode as well. I'll come to that in a while, where I tell all the cross references. So I'll tell you the cross references for ode as well. And cross references are important, by the way. Now, the last thing that I wish to talk to you about in this video is the critical remark that has been talked of a lot as far as this poet is concerned. And that is the notion of art for art's sake being debunked by art for life's sake. Now I'll tell you, in the 19th century, there was a French philosopher by the name of Victor Cousin. Victor, Victor, Cousin, Cousin. Victor Cousin in the 19th century had put out this notion saying that art just exists for art's sake. In fact, there was this movement also called atheism, right? I'm sorry, aestheticism. I'm so sorry, not atheism, aestheticism. 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 That is, art just exists for aesthetic purposes, just to please people, to entertain people. Do you think after reading the poem that is the sole work of art? Of course not. So this notion of Victor Cousin was completely rebuffed and rejected by the notion of art for life's sake given by Friedrich Nietzsche. Freiditzche. Friedrich Nietzsche. Nietzsche. Friedrich Nietzsche said that no, art does not simply exist for art's sake. It is not just there for entertainment. It is not just there for aesthetic purposes. It has something much more to do with it. It is there as a medium of social literary movements, right? Socio-political movements, literary movements, social movements, movements related to politics, movements related to society, all these things, movements related to life and spiritualism, all these things, they exist because of art. So this is what Friedrich Nietzsche said in his notion that art exists for life's sake and not just for art's sake. So this is a critical appreciation, this is a critical remark which is talked of a lot, and it is, after all, one of our favorite questions for the council. So very, very potential. It holds a lot of potential for appearing in your question paper, right? So yeah, that was about the critical appreciation, that was about the theme. And if we talk of the title, We Are the Music Makers, it is a very simple title, right? We are the music makers. In fact, rather very appropriate title. As I have told you in the literary analysis video, Arthur William Edgar O'Shaughnessy has taken this collective voice of all artists, of all people associated with the, with the field of art, which is why we and the other music makers, music over here refers to art, and more precisely, if you want to go, then of course music and song, right? Now coming to the cross references, see, the cross references for ode can be the three odes of John Keats: Ode to a Nightingale, Ode to a Grecian Urn, and Ode to Autumn. Okay, either of these three you can take. Either you take Ode to Ode to Autumn, or Ode to a Grecian Urn, or Ode to a Nightingale. These odes were written by John Keats. They are quite famous. So whenever you are writing that this particular piece of poem, We Are the Music Makers, is an ode, then you can write that literature is replete with odes. For instance, Ode to Nightingale by John Keats. Cross-reference done, marks awarded. Okay. Then if you are to write about the transformative power of art, right? How is art a vehicle of change? Then you can mention Maya Angelou's I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings and I Still Rise. Okay, And Still I Rise. This is the name of the poem, And Still I Rise by Maya Angelou. One can be that. Another can be I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings. These two were the poems that were written by Maya Angelou, and they have become a very, very critical, should I say, piece of art as far as the black people in America are concerned. So yeah, because Maya Angelou herself faced the atrocities of white domination. So yeah, that can be there. And then if you want to go a mile ahead, then there is this art piece. It is not poem. It is not a poem. It is an art. Okay, it is a painting that was made by Norman Rockwell. Norman, Norman, Rockwell, Rockwell. And the name of that entire art piece is The Problem We All Live With. The Problem We All Live With by Norman Rockwell. This painting had become really very important in the American civil rights movements. Okay, so that is how you can give cross references and always include quotations from the poem as far as your long answers. In fact, the short answers are concerned. For a 5-mark question, you can have 6-7 quotations. For a 10-mark questions, you can have approximately 10-12 quotations, and those shall suffice. and of course cross references, examples and evidences from the poem, go stanza wise, and you are sure not to miss out on any particular piece of answer. Well, the questions that can be framed from this is, how is this poem, a debunking of the notion of art for art's sake? Then you can be asked about the themes. Then you can be asked to comment on, let's say, how is this particular poem an ode? You can be asked to describe the allusion that is given in the poem. And all these I have discussed not in the form of questions, but in the form of the entire longevity of this video. And I hope you did like the video. If you did, please consider liking to my channel. Do subscribe it and share it with people you like. I'll see you all in the next video. Thank you so much. Bye bye.